Hello friends, welcome to all of you in Dr. Jaggi's Academy. Today I am going to discuss the different methods of separation. So what is meant by separation? In our daily life we use the different mixtures which contain different component. If we separate these, all the component from the mixture is known as a separation. So next question arises that comes in our mind, that is, so why do we need to separate the mixture? Basically, there are three basic reasons to separate the mixture. Number one is to remove unwanted particle. So, for instance, the removal of tea leaf from the tea using a strainer. The second is to obtain the important substances, such as the separation of butter from the milk. And the third one is to obtain the pure substances, such as the separation of the different oil from crude oil, such as the petrol, diesel, and kerosene. So let's start. What are the different methods of separation? So basically, we have five methods of separation. Number one is filtration. Second one is evaporation. Third one is distillation. Fourth one is chromatography. Fifth one is gravity separation. And the selection of various methods is on the basis of their physical property of the separated component. For instance, the filtration is useful if the separated component have different sizes, whereas evaporation is applicable if the separated component have different volatility, means different evaporating power. The third one is the distillation, in which the separated component they have different boiling point. And in chromatography, if the separated component have different solubility in different solvent. In the last, the gravity separation, if the separated component have different densities. So these are the basically five different methods of separation, and we will discuss one by one in the next slides. The first of all, what is the filtration? So this is a filtration. In the filtration is a process in which undissolved solid is separated from liquid mixture, and the size of solid particle is bigger than those of other component in the liquid mixture. During the filtration process, we get two component. One is a residue. Residue means a solid material which is left behind in the filter paper, and the filtrate, which means the liquid that passes through the filter paper. So let's, in another slide, I will discuss the example of the filtration process. So I'm taking the example of the separation of the sand from the water. So to get separation of this, to get sand, to get separated sand from the water, I take the mixture of water and sand in the another beaker. I use, that is a funnel, and which is aligned with the filter paper. And after that, we pour the mixture of sand and water over the filter paper. Since the sand particles are larger than the water molecule, so it can't pass through the filter paper, and it remain left behind over the filter paper, which is known as a residue. And the water molecule passed through the filter paper, and it is collected at the bottom of the beaker, which is known as a filtrate. So in this manner, the sand gets separated from the water. So this is known as a filtration. We have different type of filtration. One is a simple filtration, second is microfiltration, third one is ultrafiltration, and fourth one is nanofiltration. Simple filtration is used to remove undissolved solid from liquid mixture. Microfiltration is used to clarify the fruit juices and remove turbidity, whereas ultrafiltration is useful for the removal of microorganisms from the milk, and the nanofiltration is useful for to remove the minerals and organic pollutant from the water, as well as the heavy metal from the water waste. So these are the four different type of filtration that we use for different purposes. The next method of preparation is evaporation. So first we will discuss what is evaporation. Evaporation is a process in which the liquid is converted into gas, and it is used to separate the dissolved solid from the liquid mixture, which is different from the filtration, because in filtration we use to separate the undissolved solid from the liquid mixture, and in a evaporation, on heating the liquid mixture, liquid evaporates and converted into a gas where a solid is left behind. So next we will take the example of separation of the common salt from the water, which is also known as desalination. So in this case, we take the common salt solution, which contain two components. One is a common salt and second is a water. So in this case, as we know, the common salt is a non-volatile in nature, means it doesn't evaporate, whereas the water is volatile in nature, means it evaporate easily on heating or without heating and room temperature. So on heating the common salt solution, water evaporates, and whereas the salt, which is non-volatile in nature, is left behind. So in this way, so both component, that is the water and common salt, they get separated. So this is a one of the method of the separation. The another example of the evaporation process that we see in our daily life, the common example is spotted lake in a southern BC contain high concentration of the mineral in a water. So due to intense heat in a summer, water in a lake evaporate, which is volatile in nature, and leaving behind the white spots of the solid mineral, which is non-volatile in nature, they are deposited behind. So this is a common example if we see in our common area. So this is a second method which is known as evaporation. The another method of separation is a distillation. So basically distillation is a process of separating component of the mixture based on a different boiling point. So it is used to separate dissolved solid or two liquid from the mixture. And in this process, there is a conversion of liquid converted into vapor that is subsequently condensed back into the liquid form. So basically, the distillation process take place in a distillation apparatus. So we have a different component of the distillation apparatus. The first component is a distillation flask, which means a vessel which contains the original mixture. Second one is a condenser. It has a water jacket outside the central tube, which convert vapors into the liquid. And the last component of the distillation apparatus is a receiving flask, which means a vessel with the pure liquid after cooling the liquid vapor. So these are the three components of the distillation apparatus. So next, the various steps of the distillation. The first, heating the mixture in the distillation flask, and after heating, the component from the mixture which have a low boiling point is first converted into a vapor, and after while passing the vapor to the condenser, it cools down and changes into a liquid, which is known as a condensation. And the last, after condensing the after condensing the liquid, the pure liquid, which is known as the distillation, is obtained in a receiving flask. So next one is what is difference between the evaporation and distillation. The most common difference between these two terms is that in evaporation we obtain only non-volatile or less volatile component in a mixture. Since the more volatile, it's completely lost in the atmosphere by evaporation. The second process is in distillation. We obtain all the component from the mixture, such as maybe more volatile, less volatile, or non-volatile. And this is a main difference between these two processes. And another method, and the, first of all, we'll discuss the application of the distillation. One is that to remove the food coloring substance from the water. Second one, to purify the many organic compounds such as alcohol. Third application is to remove the salt from the water. Fourth one is to refine the petroleum products. And these are the applications of the distillation, and the fourth method is chromatography. So as the name indicate, chromatography is formed by the combination of two words. One is a chrome, which means color. Second is graphy, which means pattern. So chromatography is a process in which the component which are you want to separate, they can be seen in the form of color pattern or color bands. And the separation of two or more components take place on the basis of their mobility or movement. In a broader view, chromatography is a technique that enables the separation, identification, and purification of the component of a mixture. So, in our daily life, we use a different mixtures which contain a different component. And after chromatography, the different component they are moved at a various levels. And in this way, the different component gets separated. And this is a chromatography. So we have basically two component in a chromatography. The first component is the stationary phase and the second one is the mobile phase. So what is a stationary phase? Stationary phase is a solid or liquid spotted on a solid material, and it provides a surface on which the different component of the mixture move, and the selection of the stationary phase depends upon the nature of the component to be separated and the type of chromatography. For instance, the gel beads, paper, silica, alumina, and glass are the best example of the stationary phase. And another second phase is a mobile phase, which is maybe a liquid, which is known as a solvent or gas. So mobile phase, they always move along with the different component of the mixture on the stationary phase. And the selection of the mobile phase depends upon the nature of the component to be separated and the type of chromatography. For instance, organic solvents such as alcohol, water, acetic acid, and the some gases. So these are the two components of the chromatography. The next is the principle of the chromatography. The chromatography works on the principle is that the separation of different component in a mixture take place on the basis of their movement along with the solvent, which is known as a mobile phase, on the solid surface, which is known as a stationary phase. And the movement of different component along with the solvent, they depend upon their solubility in a solvent. For instance, if we have a if in a mixture we have a more soluble component and that travel for a longer distance, whereas a less soluble component in a mixture they travel at a short distance, and non-soluble component they doesn't travel. So in this way we get the different component from the mixture at the different level. So this is a main basic principle of the chromatography. The last method of the separation is gravity separation. And this method is used to separate those substances which have different densities. The main application of this method is used to separate the cream from the skim milk in a raw milk. And in this method, the milk separated machine spins milk at a high speed. And since the skimmed or watery portion of the milk is more denser than the cream, and after swimming, skimmed portion will settle down at the bottom. So this is a main application of the gravity separation that we use in our daily life to get separated cream from the skim milk. So I hope that you really enjoy my video. Please share, like, and give comment on this video. Thank you.